I realized that it wasn't just about being better than people, it was about wanting it more, and it was about working harder towards it. And I would find myself in the middle of the class, again, this is probably the wrong room to be saying this, but I would be in the middle of the class and I was a pretty good student, I was an honor student most of high school, but music was something that it just called to me, it was a calling to me, and I found myself in English class writing rhymes, and found myself in math class writing rhymes and not paying attention to anything that I should have been paying attention to at the time. And my grades started to go down and people was like, something's wrong, what is it? What's taking your attention? And I was like, rap music. And this is 1989, so they were like, okay, what is rap music? And it's probably hard for you guys to imagine a world where rap music only played on Friday nights after 10 o'clock. Like that was the only time we would hear rap music. So you had to really want to hear it, you had to really want to be a part of the culture. And I started telling people my senior year, like, I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. If it doesn't work for me in a year, fine, I'll go back, take my ACT, we'll go to college, we'll go back to all of that. But I really want to take a chance on this and do this. And it was a big thing in '89 because, like, again, no one was getting paid for this. This was right before the Ghetto Boys started to come out and make music. So rap wasn't even really an existent scene in Texas. But once you have your eyes on something, and once you have your heart on something, and you feel like that's what you want to do, you kind of can't turn away from it. I gave it everything I could, and I literally gave myself a year after graduation. I said, I'm going to take 1 year, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to go back to real life. And probably 3 months before that timeline came up, that deadline came up, we put our first album out. And it became something that kind of took over the city. I could talk about this kind of stuff all day, but it ended up being a situation where we went from being unknown artists in the city to selling 50,000 records independently, having the #1 selling record in the region, and having, you know, 6-figure record deal offers on the table. And it went from being a hobby to a job, and I didn't really understand it. I hadn't prepared for it, because a lot of people don't prepare for the music business. They prepare for the music making side of it. And making music is very easy. Understanding how to make money from your music is very hard. But when you're 18 years old, you just assume money's gonna come, right? You figure if you make a hot record and it plays on the radio and people buy it, you're gonna make money. That's what I assumed. Nothing could have been further from the truth. I went to New York, 18-year-old kid, blind as could be, and went to Jive Records, and they put a record contract in front of us. And the contract was about 65 pages long, but they only showed me 5 pages. And the 5 pages they showed me were the pages where I got paid. So in our deal, we wanted X amount of money, we wanted 3 videos, we wanted promotion, we wanted all this kind of money and all these different things from the record company. And so the record company opened up to page 21, and they said, here's your 3 videos, just sign right there, we'll give you your video. I was like, cool, that's what I want right there, let me get that. Who's gonna do my videos? Can I get, can I get a Hype Williams or somebody? Don't worry about it, just sign it. So I signed the contract, I signed that part. They showed me the money that we asked for. They was like, here's the money. They showed me the check, like right there, like here's the check right here, just sign right there. Sign the check, I signed. So of a 65-page contract, I only saw 5 pages out of the contract. Those 5 pages were the things that I wanted to get out of the deal. What I didn't realize was the other 60 pages was what the record company wanted to get out of the deal. And it was literally the most damaging thing I had ever done to myself in my life. I took a situation where I thought I was about to become, I don't know, I guess a 10,000-aire or 100,000-aire or something, and literally gave people millions of dollars. I signed my entire life away. Many young people, present company included, really only want to be seen and known and heard. And that's very easy to do. We see now in the age of YouTube that you don't have to be famous to put something out that becomes viral and goes out to the masses. But getting paid for that art, getting paid for that talent and skill is an entirely different thing. As we got older and talked to other artists in the music industry, they started to explain us, different things about it. Well, who's your publicist? I don't know, what's a publicist? This was 5 years into my record deal. I had no idea that I needed a publicist. The publicist is the person that contacts magazines, and contacts television shows and radio shows, and lets them know, hey, we got this new kid, Bun B. He's in Texas, he's amazing. Him and his partner, Pimp C, they got great music, and you guys need to talk to him. And I never even met who that person was because I wasn't concerned about that. I got my money, I got my videos, all I wanted to do now was be famous, and then everything would come after that. Again, nothing could have been further from the truth. It was 6 years before I understood what publishing was. And the only reason I understood what publishing was because we sampled an artist who refused to clear the sample until they talked to us. And he called us, he says, hey, you guys understand what you're getting into, this music stuff? We were like, well, yeah, you know, we signed, we making a little money. He was like, what do you know about publishing? I was like, well, we know we got to call you to clear this record. He was like, no, what do you know about your publishing? And no one had ever talked to us about that. We never even asked about that. He was like, well, if you don't know anything about your publishing, you've probably already given it away. Publishing, when you're a musician, is when you write a song, if you're the person that actually writes the song, you don't have to sing the song. You're the person that actually writes the song, or you're the person that actually makes the music for the song, then you're the person that gets paid. So a lot of times you can look on television and you see someone singing a record, that record plays on the radio all the time and on TV all the time, and they probably make 10 cents off that record every time you see it or hear it, and someone else makes $2 that you've never even heard of, because they understand what publishing is, and a lot of times artists don't. That's why when you see In Vogue or Toni Braxton or different artists filing for bankruptcy, it's because they didn't understand the business before they got in the business. So as this man proceeded to explain to us what publishing was, we realized we had no idea, and that we probably didn't own our publishing rights, and we were right. He was right. We jumped into something without properly educating ourselves about what we were getting into. It's real easy to get into the music game, but it's very hard to understand the music business. And it's something that the music industry does not want you to understand. The music industry is set up to where an artist comes in uninformed, uneducated, and really unengaged about the business of music. And it's set up that by the time you do understand these things and you are educated, and then you do want to do something about your situation, that they've already used you up and taken everything that they've needed from you, and now you're not as famous, or you're not really worth what you once were, and now you can't even capitalize off yourself. When we realized this, first thing we did was fire our manager and our lawyers. Because your manager and your lawyer are the people that are supposed to protect you from these type of situations. We hired a lawyer that used to work for the record company that we were signing to. So we assumed that this lawyer would give us the inside scoop and be like, know how to get things done. And we asked for X amount of dollars, and they'd given us a little bit more. So we thought she really knew what she was doing. But the reality was that she was working with them to take advantage of us. So the little extra 30 and 40,000 that she got for us, she was like, I know you guys wanted this, but this is what I got you. Well, in the paperwork, it was another 40 or 50,000. She made more from the record company than we did out of the deal when it was all said and done. And it was her job to protect us. The reason I'm saying all of these things, and I know it sounds a little bit jagged or whatever, but I'm an anomaly. There are very, very few people who come into the music industry uninformed and uneducated about the business that actually make it this far. I've been very lucky that all the mistakes that I made in the industry were before social media. There were not a lot of opportunities for people to take advantage of the vulnerable times during my career. And because of that, we were lucky enough to be able to rebound from certain situations. When we shot the Big Pimpin' video, this is going to be kind of interesting. We went to Trinidad to shoot the video, and Pimp C wouldn't come. He didn't want to get on the plane. He wasn't crazy about flying in the U.S., much less overseas, and he just refused to get on the plane. So after day 3, Lear Cohen, who was the head of Def Jam Records at the time, he asked me to meet him in the lobby of the hotel. He was like, where's your brother? I was like, he's at home, he's not coming. He was, well, why is your brother so stubborn? Why are you guys so stubborn? I was like, look, this is how we do business. You know, we realize that all we have is us, our talent. And if we don't take advantage of that, then people will take advantage of us. He was like, let me find out how far you got being stubborn. He said, how long is your record deal for? I said, our record deal is for 5 albums. He says, how long have you been signed to your record company? I said, at this point, we've been there for 8 years. He says, how many albums have you turned in? I said, we've turned in 3 albums. He says, look at you, you're stubborn. He said, you could have turned in 5 albums 3 years ago and been done with your deal and had more control of your career and your destiny. But because you wanted to be stubborn and thought that you could go up against the record companies, you're still stuck in your record deal. You're still in the same place you were and you're not making any ground. Stop being stubborn, do the work, and get done with it. And that's the reality of the situation we had to realize. We thought we were doing something by like bucking them and like giving them the finger. I hope I don't offend anybody. I didn't offend him, that's for sure. But that's the reality. You try to be stubborn and do things your way and be like, you know, we know how we're gonna do this, and we just didn't listen to enough people and take advantage. Thank you. And take advantage of the opportunities that we had in front of us, and because of that, people took advantage of us. And once we buckled down and stopped being stubborn, and there would be times where the record company would call us and we wouldn't answer the phone for 2 months, but then when we tried to call them, they wouldn't answer the phone for 6 months. So an album that would have been out 18 months usually didn't come out for 3-4 years. And so that's another thing that I want to talk about, just about picking your battles right. You know, we picked a lot of the wrong battles being artists. We tried to be like, you know what, that's all right, we're gonna be good about it. We were very stubborn, we had a lot of ego with us. Once we put our egos to the side, once we stopped being stubborn, everything changed. Big Pimpin' became it was literally the biggest record of that year. Because we weren't being stubborn with the record company from that point on, we were able to get more money out of them, to negotiate within a time where we were hot, where we were able to get good money. It wasn't just Jay-Z getting paid. And started looking at things smarter and taking things more serious. You look at TV and you see the jewelry and the cars and all that stuff, and that is a part of it. And it's a fun part. Like, don't get it twisted. Riding around in the Benz is nice, you know what I'm saying? Riding around in any car with air conditioning in Texas is nice. But when you start riding Benzes, and it took me a while to embrace that. I was very scared to spend my money on that kind of stuff, and then I bought a BMW and I haven't looked back since. But it's because I was scared to spend the money, because why buy an $80,000 car if you know you only got $100,000 in the bank? And I wasn't caught up in all of that stuff. I had jewelry, but I didn't need to have the most jewelry. You know, I didn't need to have the best car. I had enough pride in myself in that sense, but I just was being stubborn about the things that I needed to focus on. When I became a solo artist after my partner went to jail, everything changed business-wise, because all the business up to that point was split down the middle. At that point, at that juncture, everything was on me. And again, responsibility, being stubborn. It was very easy for me to lean on my partner for a lot of things. And for a lot of people, it's easy to lean on the people around you to get to where you want. But then when you get there, you don't really even get the credit that you deserve sometimes, because people see that you're leaning on other people. You're standing on other people's shoulders. You're leaning on other people's legacies, but you're not giving them that kind of credit that they deserve. And it was only when I was left to do everything by myself that I realized how much other people were really doing the whole time. And that's another thing, is being able to appreciate good people that you have around you. You know, everybody wants to have good friends, cool friends, you know, somebody that's going to be ride or die, but I prefer friends that want to ride and live, if that makes any sense. I don't want to just do all the hard work and get there and be burnt out by the time I get there. I want to do the work, get the benefit from the work, and then be in a position to enjoy the benefits of the work. A lot of times, people want too much too soon. People come in the industry and they sign a record deal in May and they want to be rich in June, and you know, they want to be in the house by July and all these things. And if you get that, if someone gives you $1 million for something that you're doing, they're probably making $10 to $12 million off you, sometimes even more. And it's the complacency of getting that $1 million that stops a lot of people from getting to the real money that they're supposed to get. We realized having a solo career, that if we wanted to make some real money, we had to make some personal investments. So when a record company said, okay, how much money do you want up front? I said, I don't want any money up front. I want money at the back end. I was like, I got enough money to live off of. I'm not broke. I don't want any money up front. I want to take things into my own hands. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to say, all right, I've learned this. I've been through this. I've acknowledged this. This is where I am. I think that we have enough to move outside of the system. And everybody wants to be in the system, but it costs to be in the system. Everybody wants to be famous, but famous doesn't mean you're going to be rich. Everybody wants to be rich, but rich doesn't mean you're going to be famous. So you have to draw a line in the sand and decide where you want it to be. When I became a solo artist, I had 3 or 4 group albums. I was like, well, we were famous, but I wasn't rich. I've been doing it backwards. So the solo album, I said, I don't want to be famous. I want to be rich. I want to do this right from a financial aspect. So instead of worrying about videos and instead of worrying about getting upfront money, I was like, let's worry about making a really good album. It's so easy right now to get paid. If I wanted to, I could go out and ask my nieces to do a dance and come up with a name for it and make a very simple beat and make some good money off of it. But the music won't last. There won't be a building legacy. And that's what we wanted. I didn't want to just be a rapper. I wanted to be a good rapper, right? I wanted to be a rapper that other rappers came up to be like, hey, yo, you can rap, dog, like for real. Because there was no money in it at the time. Then when we realized there was money, and I was like, you know what? I could give a damn about being a good rapper. Being a good rapper doesn't pay my bills, doesn't take care of my family, any of that stuff. I want to make money. So in order to make money, you have to not just be a good rapper, you have to be a good businessman. And by the time we got to becoming solo artists, we had learned enough to become good business people. But for me, as much as I loved making music and entertaining people, I was looking around at other people and I realized that a lot of them were using the music industry to get to another plateau. See, when I signed my record deal, I thought that I had made it. I didn't realize that there was further that I could go. But I started looking at people like Puffy. Puffy was making clothes, Puffy was selling liquor, Puffy was doing TV shows. I look at people like Jay-Z was doing liquor, clothes, shoes, all these things. And I'm like, man, we gotta figure out how to diversify this stuff. I gotta figure out what's my clothing line, what's my tennis shoe, what's my liquor company. And mine came different. Mine ended up being education. I was approached to be interviewed at a class at Rice University. And when I spoke and met the kids and met the instructor, Dr. Penn, I was like, because I didn't go to college, I gave up college to rap. I was like, man, college is tight. Like, I didn't know you could have people like me come to college and talk to the students and stuff. I thought this was just books and professors and numbers and symbols on the board. This is totally different, man. I'm like, this is live. I should have went to college. And he was like, well, you think you would want to, teach something like this? I'm like, well, yeah, I'd love to, but man, I can't teach in college. I didn't go to college. And again, this was a big misconception. So there was a way in which I could go in, actually teach at a class on a weekly basis, twice a week, without having a degree. I'm like, this is crazy. I could teach a college course without ever going to college. They were like, yeah, you're not going to be, you wouldn't technically be a professor, but there is a position that you would hold. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. And it was not a clothing company. It was not a liquor company. In fact, that I didn't get anywhere near rich, money-wise. But it gave me opportunities like this. It put me in rooms in front of people like yourselves to talk about very real things that matter in life. A lot of times in music, in order to be successful, sometimes you have to blend the spiritual with the superficial, and regardless of the message that you're trying to get people to receive, you don't have any control of how they receive it. But the classroom was different. The classroom allowed me to speak in a different way, put things in a different context, to put myself in a different context, and to level the playing field, so to speak. Because as an entertainer, and even right now in this arena, I'm in an elevated position, I'm on the stage, at a desk, in a chair. But in the classroom, in the class that we teach, in the class that's about spirituality, and in a class that's about asking the real questions in life, who are we? Why are we here? What is our purpose? Well, in that room, in that arena, in that sense, I may be the educator, but we're all asking the same questions. We're all on that same quest. And it gave me a different perspective in terms of the back and forth reciprocation that I have with the people that I talk to. Because a lot of times as an entertainer, you're just talking to people. But as an educator, I'm actually in a position to talk with people. And our class is a lot different than most classes because it demands interactivity. It demands opinion and it demands you get involved, you know? I didn't want to come in the classroom and just talk about, this is Jay-Z, this is Jay-Z's record, and he's riding in a 98 Bentley, and his chain was done by Jacob the Jeweler. No, I mean, let's talk about the real, let's talk about where Jay-Z was in his life. Let's talk about what was going on in the community that he's talking about. Let's talk about why these situations occurred, you know. In my class, we talked about the environment in which hip-hop was created. It was a very socio-economical struggle in New York in the 70s when hip-hop was created, and a lot of the culture of hip-hop was born out of stress and strife and poverty, and a lot of people from different cultures and different walks of life being forced to live together and forced to commune together. And you know, for a lot of us, that's the world we live in today. We live in communities where everyone in our community doesn't look like us, and everyone doesn't think like us, everyone doesn't even pray like us, but we've tried to find common bonds and we try to find a common ground that we can all relate to each other with. And that's what we try to do in the class that I teach. And we're in a very unique place because we can build the curriculum however we want to. So I can bring in, the head of the FOI, the head of the Fruit of Islam from Houston, or I could bring in Lil Kiki, or I could, you know, who used to be from Shrine of Black Madonna, but now is a Christian, or I can bring in a Mike Epps, who was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, but is now a practicing Christian, or even like a chameleonaire raised as a Muslim, transitioning to Christian. And every one of their stories are different because their lives are molded in a different way based on their experiences. And it humanizes them. You know, it takes the person off the stage, and it takes them from behind the table, and it puts you in a position where we're all the same. And that's really why I wanted to come and talk today, because I don't really get to do this a lot. And when I do these kind of things, I don't want it to be just kind of just sitting up there and just, yeah, this is what, you know, boop, 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 boop. And it gets boring, man. Look at my man. You know, it gets boring. We don't want to do that. You were supposed to wake him up. I was supposed to sit down there next to him. It's all good, man. But it's about maintaining your humanity for me. It's about making sure that I don't ever get caught up being up here. You know what I mean? You can make money, you can make fame, and both of those things, or either of those things, will make it very hard. Make it very easy for a person to put up a wall between people, a person to separate themselves from people, and to make them feel that they're literally above people. But it's important in life to make sure that if you are successful, if you do become educated, if you do become informed, if you do become engaged, then find some way to engage other people, find a way to educate other people, find a way to inform other people. I'm never going to be the best public speaker. I think today's speech kind of signifies that. But there are going to be things that I am going to be good at, and I'm going to be able to relate those things and relay those things to people. And you have to try. You're not always going to win, you're not always going to be successful, but you have to try. Because if you don't know what a loss is, you will never know when you're winning. And if you look at the Donald Trumps and the Charlie Sheens of the world, you don't want to win like that. You don't want a superficial win. You want a very real win. You want a sustained win. A win that you can look back at and be proud of. In 2016, I realized that a lot of people have fame and infamy confused. See, fame is when people know you for something that you want to be known for, that you're proud to be known for, that you walk out of the house, you stand up straight, you just wait for someone to, oh man, it's Trill OG. Hey, what's up, man? I get the biggest thrill out of that. It feels good to be appreciated for who you are. But then there's infamy. Infamy is when you're known for something you don't want to be known for. Infamy is when You're known for something that you're not proud of. Infamy is something that when you walk out the house, you put a hoodie on and a hat, and you hope you can walk past people. And they be like, oh, yo, ain't you the dude whose wife cut his piece off and threw it on the freeway up? Ain't you the girl that broke up Reggie Bush and his last girlfriend? All these different things, right? And the reason that they get fame and infamy confused is because you can get on television and you can make money with either one, right? But there's no spiritual fulfillment from infamy, right? You don't sleep good at night from infamy. You don't rest assured from infamy. So you have to be careful what it is you want, because you can use either to be seen and known, but you have to be careful what it is that you're seen and known for. And money can cloud that, people around you can cloud that, somebody talking with a mic for too long can cloud that. And I crack these little jokes, but it's very real. I've been through some very real things in my life, and I'm very lucky because when I was stubborn, someone came and spoke to me and helped me to break down that wall. When I thought I knew everything, someone came and spoke to me and helped me break down that wall. And even when I had found success, and even when I had found money, but it was all in a very surface area, and I was looking for a deeper fulfillment, someone came and spoke to me and pushed me through that. And I'm not really sure if I'm the guy that's gonna be pushing you through that or sending you that way or anything like that, but I'm trying. Like I said, maybe I should have taken more notes. Maybe I should have organized this conversation a little bit better. Maybe I should have practiced or rehearsed at this. But I think everybody can tell that I'm pretty much just speaking off the top of the dome. This is the only freestyle you're gonna get today. But I do want to leave you with this. Keep trying. Keep trying to educate yourself and inform yourself. And keep trying to help your friends and support your friends and educate them and inform them. If you know you got a good friend right now, if you know you got a ride or die, make sure he's a ride and live. Hold him down, look out for him. If you know you got a real ride or die homegirl, make sure she's a ride and live. Hold her down for her dreams and aspirations. See them right there? That's some ride and live homies right there. They want to see each other tomorrow doing better. And that's what you need. You need people in your life that only want to see you doing better. Even if it means you got to leave them behind for a little while. That's what we all need in our lives. And I guess that's it for that. I don't have these crazy mission statements. You know, I'm not Tony Robbins or anybody like that. But I do thank God for the opportunity that I've had in my life. I hope that you all thank God for the opportunity that you have for probably the other speakers in the other rooms. He held a much better court here than I did. But, you know, educate yourselves about whatever it is you're passionate about. Inform yourself about whatever it is you're passionate about. Educate yourself about whatever it is you're passionate about. And make sure when you go to bed at night that there's some kind of fulfillment. If you go to bed at night and you're not easy about the decisions you made, get up the next day. Don't give yourself too much shit about it, all right? But wake up the next day and just try to do better. And sometimes you can do better with the people around you. Sometimes for minutes you got to do it alone. But look, just wake up every day, and regardless of what yesterday was, and whatever kind of L's you took. I took some L's yesterday. I wasn't happy about having to get up this morning and come in here today, but it was all good. I went to church, I had communion, I felt better. Just keep trying, y'all. Just keep trying. Thank you.
Looks like we have a little bit more time left, so if anyone has questions, I'm sure Bun will be able to talk to you a little bit. So just line up over here if you have any questions. Besides, can you take my mixtape?
Hello?
You mentioned that you started working with Vice,
Yes.
the new program. So how did you get in contact with them? Did you contact them or did they contacted you? And do you have any programs or any projects that you have that you're going to lead with? the Vice?
So the Vice thing came around, initially it was a half joke. I was called by Vice magazine and asked if I wanted to go to New Hampshire in the wintertime and cover the Republican primaries. And I was like, you do realize you call Bun B the rapper, right? Just so we're clear. They was like, no, we think it would be neat to have you go to New Hampshire and cover the primaries and just follow the Republicans around. I'm like, so is this like a fish out of water, just some counterculture? Let's just see what happens when a black man drops off in New Hampshire, kind of a thing. And the first day I was there, it was very weird. It was very snowy, it was very cold. New Hampshire is very white, in more ways than one. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of strange being a black man in New Hampshire. Then I saw another black man and it didn't feel so strange. But then I started paying more attention to the people in the primaries. My job initially was just to go into the rooms and just kind of write about what was happening in the rooms. And I was really more of media, covering media. But when you're in the rooms and you're listening to people speak, you can't help but pick up on what they're talking about. And as you hear Christie speak in a coffee shop, and you see Marco Rubio speaking in a karate dojo or something, and who was it, Ted Cruz in a VFW hall. And then you went to the Donald Trump room, and Donald Trump was in the biggest, nicest building in town. And then you went to another city in New Hampshire, and somebody's in a pizza parlor, somebody's in a library, and Donald Trump's in the biggest, nicest place in town. And I'm like, and the first two times we went, we couldn't even get in to the Donald Trump rallies. There were so many people that they were cutting off attendance. I'm like, what are they saying in this room that everybody's trying to get in this room? And then we finally got in the room. It was the biggest room, it was like the biggest arena in the state of New Hampshire, the biggest place for anything that you could possibly want to do in the state of New Hampshire. And that's where he held court. And I got in that room, and it wasn't what he said that shocked me the most. It was more so how many people agreed with it, I think, more than anything. And I went home, I was like, well, that was interesting, you know. And they were like, well, if you want to do it again, we're going to South Carolina. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be the only black man in South Carolina. And I don't know if I want to be around the people that he's going to be around. But you know what? You know, people will classify me as a street rapper, but I've been in some gangster rooms before. Let's do this. Never been more scared for my life in my life. Never been more scared for my life in my life, because these people look just like you and me. Talk, walk, dress. There was a kid in there, he was vaping, he had on a hoodie, he had on Jordans, and he was the most conservative person I've ever met in my life. He was the same kid that's online for Supreme t-shirts and hats, and it blew my mind how conservative and how in line he was with the rhetoric that was happening. And then I realized, as I looked around, not only were there few people of color in the room, there was no one of any color that spoke to who I spoke to. Then I realized that what started as a joke got very real. And as it got further along, excuse me, as it got further and further along, the rooms got bigger and the words got nastier, but the claps and the applause got louder. And I was like, at times I don't want to even be here. Like, I don't want to be in this room. But I realized that no one else representing our culture, no one else representing the people that I speak for, would ever be allowed the access that I was allowed. And so I've been on the road since New Hampshire, probably February, maybe, something like that, January, February. I've been on the road nonstop in these different rooms. And just to be quite fair, it's not just the Republican rooms that bother me, right? There are things that I hear in the rooms the Democrats speak in that bother me as well. There's a lot of things about politics in general that bother me, specifically at the highest points and highest levels of politics. But it didn't make me not want to vote, right? It didn't make me not want to care about politics. I just had to learn that the people that you see on TV have nothing to do with what happens to you on a daily basis. It's all about local government, state government, city government, school board, city council. These are the people that affect your life. But they program you that you have to vote for Trump, you have to vote for Hillary, and you have to vote the party. And it's bull. It's bull. If any of you, how many of you watched the debates or just had them on? I mean, not debates, the conventions in the background or whatever. I was there. I didn't listen to everybody, so don't feel a certain way. But there was a black sheriff that spoke at the Republican convention, and he was the one that said that cop lives matter and all this type of stuff. He's a Democrat. He runs as a Democrat, but his views are purely conservative. But the Democratic seat was open when he ran, so he ran on that ticket. And conservatives vote for him as a Democrat because they know he will carry conservative policies. So if you're a Democrat, you just vote blue, then you voted for somebody that don't even agree with what you agree with. So for me, it was an opportunity to not only have a view to politics, but then be able to break it down in a way that people that aren't necessarily educated in civics can understand. Because once they start talking about electioneering, gerrymandering, and all this type of, I get lost sometimes. I gotta get on my phone and pull out the dictionary app to see what Wolf Blitz is talking about sometimes. But it's necessary. It's very necessary. And as far as programs with Vice, I'm not a full-time employee at the time. I'm about to be a full-time employee, but I went to the offices about 2 weeks ago, and it's a building that, I've been to CBS and NBC, and they don't have as many editing bays and production rooms as Vice has right now, and they're completely understaffed. That's all they will tell you, is that people are stuffed in there like sardines. Hundreds of people all over there doing thousands of things every day, and they're completely understaffed, and they're always looking for young, bright-minded people like yourself. So, are you in college yet? Are you a college student?
I already finished.
Huh?
No, I'm done.
What's your degree?
General engineering. I was just curious because I've always like.
Oh, I was gonna say, because I don't know if they got an engineering department. That's nice.
I was curious because I was like watching a couple of the videos. It's pretty amazing. Like some of the stuff they just covered like show. Some of the stuff they go see. It's like cringy, but it's like really shocking.
Well, the thing with Vice Magazine is that because they don't rely heavily on advertising, they're free to kind of have viewpoints. Well, put it this way, Vice recently started their own channel, Vice Land, and they had great advertising, and then they started a show called Gaycation. And Gaycation is exactly like it sounds. It shows you the best places around the world for gay people to vacation. And they lost probably 20% of their advertising just by airing that show. Not just the advertising during the show, period, across the board, because people didn't want to be associated with it because of the things that they're not scared to say and the things that they're not scared to broach. I am far removed from what any media outlet would consider a journalist, yet they took a chance on me, and it's working. We're looking now that I will be eventually working full-time for Vice Magazine and taking my viewpoint and I guess my way of looking at the world from politics to other things. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you. If it's easier for me to come around a room like a talk show, so I don't mind. Did anybody else have anything, or did y'all want to get back to your lives? I'm just kidding. I'll come back there. What'd you say? Yeah, when you wake up all the way, you can. That's what I was trying to do, to sneak over there and get a selfie with you sleep. But your boy held you down. That's a real friend, because that's your ride and live. There you go. What's your question, Mark?
Yeah, so I was having a conversation before the presentation started, and there was a mother and her sons are really into rap. She's concerned because of everything she did, right? So I'm pretty defensive when I hear it, because I've grown up with it, and I'm able to distinguish between the two, like entertainment and like the inspiration part of rap. And you do a pretty good job of like, after all the entertainment rap is done, you come back to the morals and everything. But there's a lot of rappers who don't do that. Like they sell a record and they just leave it out there. And a lot of people that I'm thinking of, they look at you as like, the inspiration and as guidance and everything. And I'm sure you guys affiliate with each other. If you keep these rappers accountable, like do you think there's certain rap that's like unhealthy, or that it's kind of, sometimes it gets kind of a gray area?
I get asked this all the time about the status of hip hop and what do I think about young artists and what do I think about the music of the day. And he made a good point about accountability. The reality is that an 18-year-old can only talk about what an 18-year-old knows, right? 22-year-old can only talk about what a 22-year-old knows. And I'm not saying that they don't know right from wrong, but they can only really talk about the rights that they know and the wrongs that they know. I'm 43, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I've been through it all, seen it all, so it's very easy for me to speak from the position that I speak from. There's years of experience, years of tutelage, years of obstacles, you know what I'm saying, overcome, years of dreams and plans achieved. So I can speak from an educated place. A lot of people can't speak from an educated place because they haven't been through certain things. So when a 19-year-old rapper doesn't talk about, poverty or racism or that, they're probably not in that place in their life. And I can guarantee you that the record company that they're signed to and the producer that they sit with, the A&R that's kind of guiding them through the album, they're not emphasizing that either. They need a hit single so that everybody keeps their job. And hit singles don't usually carry social commentary or deal in that kind of content. It's only when people go through certain things, experience certain things, see certain things on a visceral level, not just in a newspaper, not just on a timeline, not just on a television. Sometimes it takes, a rapper to get pulled over and get snatched out of his car and harassed. Sometimes it takes someone in their family getting cancer. Sometimes it takes a cousin or someone dying of AIDS. A lot of people just aren't in that place. But there are some that are, right? I look at it as 7 people, if you take 10 people, 7 people don't know, 2 people do, and 1 doesn't care. The one that doesn't care is much more easy to market. The one that doesn't care is much more easy to control. The one that doesn't care, it's much more easier to dictate where they should be going or what they should be doing. And a lot of times, a record company simply doesn't want to deal with the ramifications of putting out an artist that makes music that challenges government, that challenges police, that challenges authority, that challenges civics, that challenges politics. A lot of times, they don't want to get caught up in all of that type of stuff. Those are the dudes that they go to dinner with. Those are the dudes that they play golf with. They have to see those people, So a lot of times they're not going to encourage that. There were records that we wanted to make. We made a record about, we knew of certain individuals in our community that were doing things that we didn't approve of. Some of them were police officers. We wanted to talk about things that we felt were wrong. Our record company didn't want to get sued by someone that we were naming because at the same time was the Cop Killer situation going on with Ice-T. For those of you that don't know, Ice-T made a record called Cop Killer many years ago. They got him kicked off his record company, got him letters from the FBI and all that kind of stuff. And we weren't going that far, but we were like, we're in the hood, we're on the corner, just to be very honest, we're on the corner, we're out here doing dirt, and we see dirty preachers, we see dirty teachers, we see everyone in life who is misrepresenting themselves in their trade. And there are police officers as well in that. So we tried to talk, when we wanted to talk about the preachers that were out messing with boys, they didn't have a problem with that. But when we started to talk about law enforcement and a city councilman, they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to go through that trouble. And I can understand that. That's not their job, right? To stand up for what I believe in. That's my job, to stand up for what I believe in. So when we realized that we couldn't be as vocal as we wanted to be in the system, as soon as we could get out of the system, we got out. But again, this all goes back to the point of that, when you don't know, you don't know. And I've never been one to fault somebody that didn't know any better. There's a difference between not knowing and not showing. It's those that don't show that I have a problem with. Those that I know have college degrees, and when they're not on the microphone, can speak as eloquent as anyone. They can speak the Queen's English if they had to. right? But they get on a microphone and they misrepresent themselves to you and know what I'm talking about, know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? But that's not who they really are. If they have a strong command of the English language, they can bend linguistic